If you're an old man coffee poker player, like me, bluffing can feel uncomfortable. We like value. We like strong hands. We like betting when we have it. We like looking down at two pair and saying, finally, a hand I understand. But bluffing feels dangerous. And a lot of beginners make one of two mistakes. Either we never bluff, and our opponents can fold every time, or we finally work up the courage to bluff, and we pick the one guy at the table who hasn't folded a pair since the late 90s. Then we angrily proclaim, bluffing doesn't work. No, bluffing works. What doesn't work is bluffing the wrong player or bluffing at the wrong time. So today we're going to make bluffing simple. Not reckless, not crazy, not fire 3 barrels and pray. We're going to talk about who to bluff, who not to bluff, what boards are good for bluffing, why semi-bluffs are your best friend, and when to give up. This is Bluffing for Beginners. Roll intro. Hi everyone, I'm Old Man Chris, and this is GTO for OMC. I'm bringing you along on my journey to learn game theory optimal poker concepts and simplify them for real players, beginners, recreationals, and old man coffee players like me. Let's incorporate these concepts into our game so we can crush cash games and run deep in tournaments. Today we're talking about bluffing, and here's the big idea. Good bluffing is not about courage. Good bluffing is about choosing the right opponent, the right board, the right story, and the right size. If we bluff the wrong player on the wrong board with a story that doesn't make sense, we're not playing aggressive poker. We're just donating chips with confidence. Be sure and stick around to the end of this episode because we're going to put it all together with an OMC cheat sheet along with the 5 questions you need to ask when considering bluffing. So let's kick things off with a basic question. Why bluff at all? Why not just wait for good hands and bet when we have it? That sounds safe. And against some bad players, that strategy can work for a while. But here's the problem. If you only bet when you have a strong hand, observant players can adjust. They fold when you bet, they attack when you check, they stop paying you off. GTO teaches us that strong betting ranges include value bets and bluffs. A value bet wants worse hands to call. A bluff wants better hands to fold. Let me repeat that because it's really important. A bluff wants better hands to fold. Now that doesn't mean we need to bluff like maniacs. This is GTO for OMC, not Punt City Poker. The goal is not to bluff constantly. The goal is to bluff intelligently. OMC translation? You don't need to bluff all the time, but you need to understand when bluffing makes sense. Now, I'm sure most everyone knows what a bluff is, but let's start with the definition. A bluff is a bet designed to make a better hand fold. That's it. If you have ace high and your opponent has a small pair, your bluff is trying to make that pair fold. If you missed your flush draw and your opponent has second pair, your bluff is trying to make second pair fold. Before you bluff, ask one question, and this is important. What better hand am I trying to fold? If you can't answer that question, you probably shouldn't bluff. A lot of beginners bluff without a target. They just think, I missed, maybe I should bet. But missing is not a reason to bet. A good bluff has a target. Maybe you're trying to fold out ace high. Maybe you're trying to fold out a small pair. Maybe you're trying to fold a weak top pair. But if you don't know what you're targeting, your bluff is just a donation with confidence. Now let's talk about the best beginner bluff, the semi-bluff. The semi-bluff is when you bet with a hand that is not currently best, but can improve. Examples, a flush draw, an open-ended straight draw, a combo draw, 2 overcards with backdoor draws. The reason semi-bluffs are great for beginners is simple. You can win 2 ways. Number 1, your opponent folds now. Number 2, your opponent calls, but you improve later. That is very different from a pure bluff. A pure bluff usually needs folds. A semi-bluff has a backup plan. Here's an example. You raise pre-flop with ace of spades, 5 of spades, the big blind calls, and the flop comes king of diamonds, 7 of spades, 2 of clubs. The big blind checks. You can make a small continuation bet. You have ace high, backdoor spades, backdoor straight possibilities, and this board often favors the pre-flop raiser. Now let's say the turn is the 4 of spades. Now you picked up a flush draw and a wheel draw. If you bet here, that's a semi-bluff. You may win if the villain folds, but if the villain calls, you still have outs. Any spade may give you a flush, any 3 gives you a straight. Maybe an ace is good sometimes. That is a beginner-friendly bluffing spot. Here's the rule. Pure bluffs need folds, semi-bluffs have backup plans. Now we get to perhaps the most important part of the video. Who should you bluff? Because the number 1 beginner bluffing mistake is bluffing the wrong player. Good bluff targets are players who can fold, tight players, fit or fold players, nits, players who respect your bets, players who overfold to continuation bets, players who can let go of one pair. Bad bluff targets are players who came to the casino to call everything. Calling stations, sticky players, players who say, I had to see it, players who never fold a pair, players who always think the next card will improve their current situation. Against those players, don't bluff, value bet. Value bet them until they prove they can fold. That's one of the most important small stakes rules. If the villain doesn't fold, your bluff doesn't have fold equity. And bluffing without fold equity is just burning money with some extra steps thrown in. Now let's talk about a bluffing component that I've only recently started to study, board texture. If you aren't comfortable with the concept of ranges, then this is going to be a little bit more difficult. Not all boards are good bluffing boards. Some boards favor your range, some boards favor your opponent's range. If you raised pre-flop and the big blind called, a board like ace of clubs, 7 of diamonds, 2 of spades often favors you. Why? Because as the pre-flop raiser, you have more strong aces. The big blind can have some aces, but overall, this is a board where a small continuation bet often makes sense. Now compare that to 9 of spades, 8 of spades, 7 of hearts. This board is very different. The big blind has lots of hands that connect with this board. This is not a board where we should automatically bluff just because we raised pre-flop. Board texture matters. So here's the board texture OMC rule. Bluff more when the board favors your range, bluff less when the board favors theirs. A bluff is not just a bet. A bluff is a story your opponent has to believe. Before you bluff, ask, did I represent strength pre-flop? Does this board favor my range? Would I bet this way with a strong hand? What strong hands can I credibly have? Is my opponent's range weak enough to fold? Let's look at an example of poor storytelling. You call from the big blind and the flop comes ace of spades, king of diamonds, 7 of clubs. You check call. The turn is the queen of hearts. You check call again. The river is the 2 of clubs. Now you suddenly bet huge. What are you representing? Maybe some slow plays? Maybe some 2-pair? But a lot of your strongest hands might have played differently earlier. That bluff may not tell a believable story. Now here's a better story. You raise pre-flop from the button, the big blind calls, and the flop is ace of clubs, 8 of diamonds, 3 of spades. You bet small, the big blind calls, and the turn is the king of hearts. You bet again. The big blind calls, and the river is the 2 of spades. Now if you bet big, your story makes more sense. You can have all the strong aces, ace-king, sets, 2-pair. You represented strength pre-flop. The board favors your range. Your line is believable. That doesn't mean the bluff always works, but at least the story makes sense. And remember, the best story in the world still doesn't work against someone who doesn't know how to read. Let's keep bluff sizing simple. A small bluff works best when your opponent has lots of weak hands and the board favors you. For example, you raise pre-flop, the big blind calls, and the flop comes king of clubs, 7 of diamonds, 2 of spades. The big blind checks. You can often bet small, maybe 25 to 33% pot. Why? Because the board's dry. Your range is strong. Your opponent misses this board quite often. A medium bluff is often used when you have equity and want to apply pressure. This is common on the turn with semi-bluffs. You pick up a flush draw. You pick up a straight draw. You have overcards plus backdoors. Now a medium bet can pressure weak pairs while still having equity when called. A big bluff is usually for polarized spots. That means you're representing a very strong hand or you have a hand that doesn't want to check. Big river bluffs need a believable story, the right opponent, and enough fold equity. Don't make huge river bluffs just because you missed. That's not strategy, that's frustration. Here's the simple rule. The bigger the bluff, the more folds you need, and the better your story needs to be. Now I'm going to touch on a topic that can be controversial for beginners and recreationals. Blockers. Many amateurs believe that blockers is an overrated topic, and to some degree I agree. But it's worth discussing when it comes to bluffing. So let's start with a definition. A blocker is a card in your hand that makes it less likely your opponent has a certain strong hand. Here's an example. There are 3 spades on the board and you hold the ace of spades. That means your opponent cannot have the nut flush. That can make bluffing more attractive in some spots because you block one of the strongest hands your opponent could possibly call with. Another example, if you hold an ace, it's slightly less likely your opponent has ace-king or pocket aces. That's why suited wheel aces like ace-5 suited can sometimes be used as aggressive hands in modern poker. They block strong aces and can still make strong hands when called. But here's the warning. Blockers are not magic. Don't say, I had a blocker, as an excuse for punting into a player who never folds. Blockers matter most against thinking players who can fold. Against calling stations, blockers matter a whole lot less. Let's talk about giving up. This is one of the most underrated bluffing skills, giving up. Giving up feels weak, but sometimes giving up is the very best play. You should give up when the villain is a calling station. The board favors the villain. Your story no longer makes sense. You have no equity. Multiple players are in the pot. The villain's range is strong. Or you got called twice by someone who doesn't like folding. Let's say you raise pre-flop with queen of clubs, jack of clubs. The big blind calls and the flop is ace of spades, nine of diamonds, four of hearts. You bet small. The villain calls. The turn is the six of spades. You bet again. The villain calls. The river is the two of diamonds. You missed everything. Before you fire again, ask, can this player fold an ace? Can this player fold a nine? Did the turn and river improve my story? Does this player overfold? If the answer is no to any of these questions, give up. There's no shame in checking back queen high and losing a small pot. There is shame in turning a small lost pot into a massive punt. Giving up is not weakness. Giving up is discipline. Let's walk through one full hand. You're in your local casino's 1-3 cash game. Effective stacks are $300. You're on the button with ace of spades, five of spades. The action folds to you. You raise to $12. The big blind calls and the pot is about $25. The flop comes king of diamonds, seven of spades, two of clubs. The big blind checks. This is a good board for the pre-flop raiser. You have more strong kings. The villain checks. You bet $8. This is a small bluff. Why small? Because the board's dry. The villain misses this board often, and your range is strong. Your hand has some backdoor equity. The villain calls. The turn comes four of spades. Now things get interesting. You picked up a flush draw and a wheel draw. The villain checks again. Now this is a good semi-bluff candidate. You can win if the villain folds, and if the villain calls, you have outs. Any spade may give you the nut flush, any three gives you a straight. So you bet 25 into about $41 and the villain calls. The river comes the queen of hearts. You missed. The villain checks. Now what? This is where beginners often say, I can't win unless I bet. That may be true, but that doesn't automatically mean we should bet. We ask, can this player fold? What better hands am I targeting? This is where understanding an opponent's range comes into play. Does my story make sense? This is where your range comes into play. If the villain is a tight, thoughtful player who can fold a weak king or pocket pair, a river bluff may be possible. But if the villain is a calling station, give up. Check back, lose the pot, move on. The lesson is simple. The same bluff can be good against one player and terrible against another. Same hand, different player, different decision. Let's make this simple with an OMC cheat sheet. Bluff more against nits, overfolders, fitter fold players, players who respect your bets, players who can fold one pair. Bluff less against calling stations, sticky players, multi-way pots, players who never fold pairs, players who say, I had to see it. The best beginner bluffs? Semi-bluffs, small C bets on dry boards, turn barrels with equity, river bluffs only when your story makes sense and the villain can fold. Now let's turn our attention to the 5 questions you should ask yourself before bluffing. Number 1, can this player fold? Number 2, does my story make sense? Number 3, what better hands am I targeting? Number 4, do I have equity or blockers? And number 5, would I bet this way for value? If you can't answer these questions, checking is probably better than guessing. Bluffing doesn't have to be reckless. You don't need to become the table maniac. You don't need to fire giant river bluffs into people who came to call. Beginner bluffing is about discipline, picking the right opponent, picking the right board, telling a believable story, using semi-bluffs first, and knowing when to give up. The goal is not to bluff more just for the sake of bluffing. The goal is to bluff better. Because bluffing is not about bravery. Bluffing is about leveraging fold equity. If this video helped, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. What's your biggest bluffing mistake? Bluffing too much? Not bluffing enough? Or firing the river and immediately regretting every life choice that led to that moment? Let me know in the comments and we'll keep learning together. I'm Old Man Chris. This is GTO for OMC. And remember, bluff the folders, value bet the callers. I'll see you in the next one.